Steve Ferguson.
I'm Mike Viscusi. A pleasant good afternoon to you all.
And welcome to the inaugural edition of the GoBIo Preview Show. We got a lot to get covered today. Go ahead, Mike, take us through it.
Well, to begin with, we're going to be taking a look at the drivers that have new rides for the 2008 season, the sophomore season for NASCAR under the GoBIo title. Steve, why don't you take us to the first driver on our list?
Okay, our first driver is David Strumme. He'll be driving the number 10 Evernham Motorsports Dodge. And Mike, what do you think about this move to the 10 car for Mr. Strumme?
Well, Strumme has driven the number 40 Chip Ganassi Coors Light machine for 2 years with a marginal amount of success. Last year he finished 23rd in the point standings, right behind his teammate Reed Sorensen. And Strumme is getting a new opportunity at what many consider to be the signature Dodge team, Red Evernham Motorsports. Evernham's coming off of an off year, and Strumme has a chance to impress in his new battling machine.
Yeah, as you know, David Strumme did have 2 second-place finishes, his best finishes of the year last year, both at Talladega and Watkins Glen. But other than that, he showed some really mediocre results at most other tracks. So what do you think, Mike?
Strumme basically went the way that Ganassi went on the whole. They all had 20-something finishes galore. I remember early on in the season when Reed Sorensen finished 20th 3 times in a row. That was quite impressive.
That was phenomenal. I just one of the later races in the season at Dover when no comments from the peanut gallery. Folks are having a little difficulty here, but over the course of the last couple of races, we had one event where all the Chip Ganassi cars finished 18th, 19th, and 20th together. It was at Dover.
Steve, I'm so excited for this upcoming year.
We have no idea.
And remember, folks, the entire GoBIo schedule will be brought to you on YouTube.
On YouTube. On YouTube. So, our next driver, David Gilliland, driving the 13 Certainty Chevrolet.
Now, this is a great move. Gilliland was prematurely removed from his number 38 M&M's Robert Yates Ford machine at the start of the chase, as Robert Yates, with the 38 team struggling to maintain in the top 34 in owner points, opted to go with a second run with Elliott Sadler, who transferred over from Evernham. I think this is a great move for Gilliland, moving over to the 13 car. What do you think, Steve?
Absolutely. It's going to create a lot of buzz in the garage areas, you know. A lot of people now sort of coining a term in the garage area for Gilliland and Ginn Motorsports and their combination. Gilligan? Yeah? Yeah, we thought it was clever too.
Definitely. But I think the single most important thing for David Gilliland moving to Ginn Racing is the mentorship he'll have. What do you think?
That's right. He'll have Mark Martin to hold him up under his wing. Mark Martin, of course, had wins last season at Las Vegas and also had
North
Wilkesboro. So Mark Martin, please no comments from the peanut gallery. Mark Martin is going to be a phenomenal mentor, of course. Ginn Racing's only real productive driver last season.
Mark Martin really pulled off a miracle last year, finishing 6th at the final standings. His team was collapsing around him, and he really single-handedly soldiered on in that Army mobile and pulled off an incredible 6th place finish in the standings.
That's very true. Of course, you remember Sterling Marlin, who failed to make a race up until Talladega it was. So that was a long stretch without making a race.
Marlin's another driver that's going to have some new opportunities this year, but we'll get to him later. Next on the list is Regan Smith in the number 15 car, and Steve Smith was one of those guys that was crushed by the Ginn collapse. How did his season go?
Yeah, when Ginn decided to collapse to 2 teams, they unfortunately had to opt Regan Smith out of that 39 car for the rest of the season, so he was unable to start. As a matter of fact, Dover was his last attempt, and he placed 41st in that event. So that was a rather depressing turn of events for Mr. Smith, but I'm looking forward to his run in the 15 car. The 15 car, of course, victory with Paul Menard at Bristol early in the season. So Regan Smith, you should see some good things coming from him. I think they'll struggle at first, but ultimately they'll pull together.
Right, that's a car that's locked into the top 34 in owner points, so Smith won't have to
qualify for the Daytona 500. He's in.
That's true. And Regan Smith is excited for his new opportunity, and basically he's got that DEI power under the hood, and we should see some good things out of him. He basically, because he missed so many races, ironically enough, he has the advantage of once again competing for Red Bestest Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and you can see the joy and the ecstasy from our crowd here. They're really excited that Regan Smith's going to be starting. Regan Smith has quite the fan club here.
Here we again.
Yeah, all right.
Oh yeah.
Getting into it. All right, so our next driver on the list is not a driver that's new to the series, but he is new to the organization, and he's also, he's bringing in a brand new car. That'd be Scott Riggs to the number 27 Mobile One Dodge. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about Scott Riggs?
Well, obviously, the highlight of Scott Riggs' season was his victory at Montreal in an epic battle between himself and he held off Jeff Gordon up until the final turn when he got some help from Carl Edwards. He managed to pull out that victory in what some would term the greatest upset of the 2007 season.
Yeah, it was the first time that NASCAR has gone overseas in a NASCAR sanctioned event. So across the border to Canada.
Overseas to Canada,
they crossed the Great Lakes. And they posted what many thought was the greatest race of last season. It was voted by the fans as the most exciting race of last season.
Now, Scott Riggs is one of those drivers. Now, Penske tried a third race team, the number 77, a few years back, and that kind of crashed and burned.
It did. Brendan Gaughan was in the 77, the Kodak machine, and his best finish came as a 5th place at Talladega, but other than that, he didn't really have much to show for it. But Scott Riggs, looking at his stats from last season, he had 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. Not much to show for, but then again, he only made 24 starts. And towards the end of the season, he really started climbing back into contention for that top 34 spot, right, Mike?
He was making races rather consistently toward the end alongside his teammate, Bill Elliott. And Riggs is one of those drivers that's going to have to qualify via the B-main every week because he's outside the top 34 in points, at least until the 4th race of the season at Atlanta. But I think he's more than up to the task, and he's basically driving Dodgers again, so he doesn't have to worry about a manufacturer switch, and he's going to be, I think he's going to be okay, and I think we can see some good things for him in the future. Steve, our next driver on the list is Jeff Green in that ill-fated 36 ride. Steve, trivia question, who got the best finish in the 36 ride last year?
Why, Mike, I'm afraid I can't tell you. I would say Harry Gant, but then again, Harry Gant's been retired for quite some time.
Harry Gant is indeed the answer to every trivia question. Unfortunately, it is not this one. As a matter of fact, the top finish out of the number 36 machine was from Butch Leitzinger at Watkins Glen.
Wow. And that was his only start.
That was his only start, and he pulled off an 18th place finish.
That's pretty impressive. Well, as you recall, the 36 team didn't make a start until Talladega, the spring Talladega race. And even then, they encountered trouble on lap 4 when Jeremy Mayfield, getting spun sideways by Mike Wallace, ended up in the infield.
And Jeremy Mayfield was rather rapidly out of that machine. He was relieved by Johnny Benson for the remainder of the year, who experienced only marginally better success.
Yeah, but they're hoping that by bringing in Jeff Green to the 360 OTC car, that they will have some major success, especially at the restrictor plate races. Jeff Green has really exhibited some power at those tracks, hasn't he?
Jeff Green performed exceptionally well, shocking the world with a top 10 in the Daytona 500 last season. He actually scored the 9th most points among all drivers in restrictor plate races. So while Green had a mediocre at best season at the rest of the tracks, he performed exceptionally well at the restrictor plate and at the Daytona and Talladega, those big restrictor plate tracks. Steve, the next driver on our list is the driver that's replacing David Stremme in that number 40 machine. That's Paul Menard, the other surprise winner in 07.
Yeah, Paul Menard did win at Bristol, the spring Bristol race, after a huge race of attrition. Yeah, this is the move that I am most skeptical about because Paul Menard is going to Chip Ganassi Racing, which, as you know, has been deemed the average team of last season.